What if the secret to long term sobriety isn't just quitting alcohol, but learning how to truly put yourself first? Today's guest is living proof that boundaries, balance, and self care aren't luxuries, they're the foundation of freedom.
Welcome to the Sober Life Rocks podcast. You may have made the decision not to drink alcohol, or at the very least, not at work-related events. Whether you've never been a drinker, are in recovery, or made a health-related decision, we see you, and you are not alone. In today's world, networking, socializing, and celebrations often happen over drinks, and the struggle can be real. Through this podcast, we're changing that narrative. We're here to create a community where individuals like you, who choose not to drink or drink less, can find camaraderie, support, and practical advice.
Before we dive in, I want to share something exciting. One of the most powerful things about the sober space right now is how much we can learn from each other and how many opportunities there are to create new collaborations. That's exactly what Amplify Sober Voices is all about. It's a one-day in-person event happening January 15th in Orlando. Who doesn't love Orlando in the winter? And we're bringing together speakers and writers, podcasters and coaches and creators who want to take their sober story and turn it into impact. Imagine a room full of people who get it, all sharing ideas, sparking conversations, and building partnerships that will shape the future of this movement. If you've been looking for the right place to connect and grow, this is it. Join us at amplifysobervoices.com. I personally would love to see you there. Now, my guest today is Wendy Behar, a therapist, addiction coach, international speaker, and author who's been in recovery since, wait for it, 1998. For over 27 years, she's been guiding individuals and families through the challenges of addiction and codependency with compassion and strength. Through her signature program, the Happiness Recovery System, and her book, Your Rules, Your Life, Wendy empowers people to break free from unhealthy patterns, reclaim their voice, and live with balance and resilience. She's presented on international stages, including Empowerography, and continues to inspire through her writing, coaching, and online community, Wendy's Warriors, Finding Happiness in Sobriety. Today, we're diving into her journey, from her own path to sobriety to navigating life's challenges and discovering the power of emotional sobriety. Wendy, welcome to the program. I'm so excited to have you here.
Thank you. I am so excited to be here. Finally, we signed up for this in May.
I know.
And now here we are, right? In September, which I know it won't be out until you said October 23rd,
October.
around my anniversary date. So pretty interesting. No coincidences.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, let me start back in kind of the beginning with you. I always love to ask people, looking back on your family of origin and growing up, can you just share with me sort of like what was the situation with alcohol in your family and where you as a younger person sort of had a relationship or didn't have a relationship with it?
When I was 7 years old, I put my finger in my father's scotch glass and I tasted. I was like, oh, even at 7, and I remember. And my father was a liquor salesman. And he would come home at night. And to relax, you have scotch, you have a drink. And my parents loved to party. And as an only child, and drinking was just part of life.
Yep.
And I thought that was normal. That's what you did at the end.
You know, it's so funny. Most people that I talk to, they say, oh, yeah, I had my first drink really early, like 14 years old. For me, it was 8. And so I'm so happy to meet somebody else who was a child drinker as well. So I don't quite feel so alone. But it was scotch and water for me too.
Yeah, I tasted it,
Yeah.
and ooh. And then it really at 14, 12 it really took off.
Yeah.
That was my first taste and I liked it.
Yeah. And so I assume that things began to even progress from that 14-year-old self through middle school, high school, college, all that.
Yes, it progressed and it was fun until it wasn't.
Yeah, absolutely. So Tell me what for you kind of was the final straw. When did you just say, I can't do this anymore?
I was 35 years old
Mm,
and I was going to a family function, and it was my husband's partner in business. And I was with my children who were 7 and 9 at the time.
mm,
And he said, Wendy, please don't drink. So that's all you had to do was tell me. Other alcoholics say, yeah, you tell me what to do, I do the opposite. Don't you dare tell me what to do. I'll show you. And I,
absolutely.
right? And I always would start before I went to an event in the basement, drinking vodka out of a bottle, coming
Mm,
upstairs with paper towels from the basement, up and down, but nobody knew it was hiding down there. And I was already a little buzzed. We went to a function, business function, and I told the bartender, just do me a favor, just keep filling up this wine glass and leave it on the
mm,
bar. And I kept on walking by and just guzzling it
mm,
just to get wasted. And that was the last time I drank, which was October 24th, that I drank alcohol.
mm,
And my husband was crying. He never cried, but he did. And my in-laws were there. I was carrying on. I was in a blackout. I don't remember what I said and what I did, which happened, you know, every now and again. During the day, I never would drink. At night is when I drank. So I didn't think, oh, I really have a problem. But yeah, I
sure.
did. And
Yeah.
that was the last time I drank
So what
alcohol.
I'm assuming that there was other times he asked you not to drink and other times that you were in blackout. So what about that time changed things for you?
Because my children were there and they
Mm,
saw me wasted. And I said, oh, I don't want my children to see that. And the next day, I actually went to my first AA meeting.
mm,
Yellow pages, looked in there. People that don't know what the yellow pages are, it's like Google. It's a big book, and you go in there and it's a directory, and it said AA. And
Wendy, you're so
I actually
funny.
went with my mother. My mother took me. She wasn't in AA, but we looked it up together, and she took me to my meeting. And I
Mm,
went to my first meeting, and it was an anniversary meeting. And if you don't go to AA, what usually happens is when you are at a meeting, they'll say, anybody new? And I raised my hand and I said, hi, I'm Wendy. I'm an alcoholic. And the weight was lifted off of me. I was like, oh,
mm,
it just felt so good. And ever since then, I've been going to AA meetings. I sponsor people. I went back to
mm.
graduate school to become a social worker. And
Wow.
my whole life changed because I changed one thing.
Yeah.
Alcohol.
So one of the things I kind of wanted to explore with you is you've said that for much of your life you lived by everybody else's rules. Whose rules were you living by?
My parents, namely
Mm,
my mother and my grandmother, to be a people pleaser, to always put their needs first. And if I said no, my mother would hang up the phone on me and get angry. And I felt guilty
mm,
when I said no. And I lost myself in that process of always saying yes to others and no to myself. I didn't even know who I was.
right. That's what I
Right?
was going to say is like in that whole process, how do you even know what you do want? How do you even know what you do like? Because you're busy trying to keep everybody else happy. It's crazy.
Yes, yes,
And
and
do you feel like some
society.
of that contributed to the drinking?
I just believe that alcoholism is a family disease, and if I
Mm,
look down the family history, there's alcoholism, gambling addiction, it's there.
mm-hmm,
And I just believe that I was born to be an addict. I have an
yeah.
addictive personality, that all or nothing
Mm-hmm,
personality. And also, as far as the rules, society has a rule. It did when I got married in 84. You get married, you don't have a career. Women didn't really have a
Not
career.
back then. Mm-mm.
So I
You could have a
followed,
little side job, maybe.
right, right. So I followed the rule. I was a realtor or I worked in
Okay.
retail and I
Yeah.
got married young. I got married at 22. What did I know about life? Nothing. And I even mentioned to my husband, I said, oh, I really want to go back to graduate school. I want to be a therapist. I want to be a social. Oh, no, 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 no. You're going to stay home and have kids. And I followed his rule.
Mm-hmm.
And I was resentful. I
Mm-hmm.
loved having my children, but I wanted more, but I didn't
Mm-hmm.
even know it at the time.
Well, so now look back if you can. What was the first moment that you thought about, like, it's time for me to write my own rules? It's time for me to listen to my own voice.
Believe it or not, when I went into AA, and on that following Sunday, I went to the meeting, but the following day, I went to my home group, which is still my home group after, almost 28 years. And I had a coin for a 24-hour coin. And on the back of it, it said, to thine own self be true. And
Mm,
that really made me think, epiphany moment, like, what does that even mean? Who am I? And as I started working the steps and going to therapy,
mm.
I started learning more and more about myself. It's like having a new pair of glasses, right? And saying, oh my gosh, I'm not
Okay,
happy.
so what were some of the surprises that you learned about yourself?
Well, I learned that I was not happy in my marriage,
Mm,
that my husband would be very abusive verbally.
mhm,
And I realized that I wanted to go back to graduate school. I wanted to be able to say no. I was afraid of him.
mm,
And just the way my whole life was, I was just doing, what everybody wanted me to do. I would get up, take my children to school, go to the gym. I was fortunate enough I didn't have to work because we were
mm,
financially comfortable. And I thought I was happy. I loved being with my children. I love when they were small. We had the best time going to all the sporting events and all their activities.
mhm.
I really love that. That's why I love my granddaughter so much because she's 2.5 and I have so much fun. And as I was progressing in my recovery, I was just realizing certain things that I wasn't really happy about.
Mm,
And sobriety gave me myself back. I learned who I was and what I wanted. And part of it was, having a better marriage. And I tried with my husband going to therapy, but he didn't want to come along for the ride because I
yeah.
got healthier and he got sicker. And that's what happens. I talk about in my book, changing the dance steps.
Mhm.
Everyone wanted me to get sober, but they didn't want me to change. Now, for me and my clients, if you don't change who you are, you will go back out and drink.
Yeah. And I remember even when I got sober, like, I didn't even know what I liked to do because everything prior to that had been focused around going to work and taking care of the kids and, showing up where I was supposed to show up. And I remember my sponsor at the time, she's like, why don't you just go to Michael's and pick up like a paint by numbers thing
Mm.
and just sit and do that meditatively and see if that's enjoyable. And then another time it was, why don't you just like go outside and go for a 10-minute walk in your neighborhood? I'm guessing you haven't done that before. And I was like, nope. And see if you like walking outside. And she just kept suggesting these little things because I didn't know what I liked,
Yes, I know.
like
And
even
that,
hobbies.
yes, like meditation. I was introduced to meditation through step 11, and I would go to meditation retreats. I
Hmm.
started doing yoga. I never did yoga. Like yoga, right? It was amazing. I love it. I still do yoga. I'll put on YouTube and I'll do it in my living room. It's like just a whole new world opens up. When I
Yeah.
stopped drinking, it was just,
Well, and stopped being told to stay in a box, I think.
yes,
Yeah. Yeah.
exactly. Mhm.
So I kind of want to also talk about like the emotional side of all that. Like those were, voices that were being told, but in that journey, you talk about emotional freedom a lot. So what does that mean when you talk about emotional freedom?
To really know who you are and what your feelings are. And you talked about painting the inner child.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, like my little girl, like little Wendy, like what do you really want? What makes you happy? What makes you sad? What makes you uncomfortable? I started learning about my feelings and I learned feelings need to feel. I don't have to be afraid of them. If I'm angry, that means a need is not getting met.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to really start looking into that. And that's emotional sobriety because, I've seen a lot of people that are physically not drinking, but they're still angry and nasty. They haven't changed.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to really change and do the work. And I'm still constantly doing work. The onion is unpeeling to get to my emotional truth. And I set boundaries, and I talk about that as well in my book. My husband doesn't like that, my second husband. I say, no, I'm not
Yeah.
doing that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
He
I
wants
remember Wendy because I, like I said, I my first drink was at 8. Um, but really I was raised by an alcoholic mother. I didn't know what from what. I didn't know real feelings and real behaviors. In fact, I remember being the ultimate sort of imitator. I was probably 6 or 7 years old, and I went to a girl's house, Julie Applebaum, and she loved playing with dolls. Now, I was a tomboy. I didn't have any interest in dolls, but I loved Julie Applebaum. So I went to her house and she pulls out these two like really frilly dressed, fancy dolls. And she hands one to me. And I don't know what to do with it. And so I watch her and she's, doing like this. And so then I take my doll and I start acting the same way. Like I didn't know how to do things. I didn't know how to be a little girl. I didn't know how to feel or act. So I became a great imitator. And I could move into any crowd or out of any crowd simply by watching and observing what other people did and then doing what they did. And so when I got sober and this whole notion of emotional sobriety came up, I had to get one of those emotion wheels. Have you seen those?
that, of
And
course.
so at the center, they have like the core feelings. And then the next layer out, it's sort of the more nuanced feelings. And then the final one is like the really fine tuned, detailed ones. And I remember I would have to go to that. I put it on my refrigerator for like 6 months and I would be having some feeling. I'm like, I don't know what this is. And I literally would have to go and like figure out the name of it. Oh, I'm feeling judgmental, or oh, I'm feeling frustrated, or oh, I'm feeling peaceful. Like I just didn't even have names for the things that were inside of me because I had always just pushed that aside.
Yes, and I always talk about feelings need to feel. Just let them. And then, I always talk about too, feel, deal in a healthy way, not drinking, and then you will heal. But if you just push down those feelings, you're not even aware of them, then you just go through life and it comes out sideways, passive aggressive behaviors. And I always work with my clients with feelings. We have the feeling sheet, the need sheet. And it's really
Mhm.
important to identify what you're feeling because when you're drinking, you don't even know what you're feeling. Like you're saying,
Absolutely.
like I was a chameleon. Who do you want me to be? I'll be whoever you want me to be.
Yeah. So when you say uh, feel, deal, heal, what are some of the ways that you teach people how to deal?
How to deal, number one, to really start journaling. I
Uh-huh.
believe in journaling. And I have the feeling sheet. I have them look at the feeling sheet, look at how you're feeling, and then we like to talk about your needs. So journaling, meditation,
Mhm.
pausing. I love them to start the morning with a routine. I do as well. Most days, I know when I follow a routine, the rest of my day goes better.
Yeah.
And I would get up earlier in the morning before anybody's there, and I encourage my clients to have a little Zen place in their home where they have daily meditation books, candles, a little waterfall, whatever makes you happy, crystals. I love essential oils like the lavender, essential
Mm-hmm.
oils, and have your place. And you
Yes.
can put
I
some
have
on
my
the,
candle in my office.
there
Yep.
you go. And I even have these little guys, right? The electronic ones with the battery,
Uh-huh.
right? And just do like your life and start it out. The way you start your day is the way the rest of the day will go. So I really encourage them to start doing that. And when they're doing their readings, highlight, write down, what this means to you.
Mm-hmm.
Identify with that and we talk about it. Because once you're aware of something, you can change it.
Mm-hmm.
How do you become aware? Well, coaching, therapy, meetings. I love when I,
Reading. Mm-hmm. Listening to podcasts.
yes, podcasts like yours. And then people go,
Yeah.
oh, wow, I feel that way too. Oh, okay, so I'm normal. Because what happens is, right, we feel like, oh no, something's wrong with me. No, nothing's wrong with you. We all feel the same way. This is the human emotion and feeling, and we all respond differently. And drinking is a coping skill. And now you don't have that. So you need to replace it with healthy habits, healthy routines, healthy friends, podcasts like
Mm-hmm.
yours. No,
Mm-hmm.
people like are the winners. Stay
Yeah.
away from those people, places, and things that are toxic, that are drinking. You don't, have to be with those people. Limit your time, set your boundaries.
Yeah. Well, you just said something that kind of got me thinking. You talked about that you go through these things too. So I'd love you to take your coach hat off and just be your vulnerable Wendy self. Tell me about a time that you faced where you had to set a boundary, but it was really scary. Like
Okay.
the stakes were real.
Yes, they were. And this is a very personal, private matter.
Mm,
And I'm thinking about it for a second because I want to think if I want to share it right now. Um, I had to set a boundary with one of my children.
mm,
And when they were younger and they weren't following the rules, I had to lock the doors to my home
mm,
and not let them stay in my home. And that was really hard. And I remember it said to me, "You are the worst mom in the whole world."
mm,
And I said, "Thank you. That means I'm working my program." And I was going to Al Anon at the time, still go to Al Anon. I go to a lot of anonymous programs, to learn how to set boundaries. And I love working with people from the Al Anon perspective, families. I work with families a lot because that
mhm,
is really hard, to set
mhm.
those boundaries, focus on yourself
Yeah.
because you have to raise the bottom for people in your life. In order to raise the bottom, that's the only way they'll get help, like
Here
enabling.
comes the coach again.
Oh, so vulnerable. The hardest thing I had to do, crying,
Yeah.
answer. Um, that's the way I live my life. It's so funny. It's like, that's how I talk.
Yeah.
And it's the funniest thing too, because someone says to me, "No, I hate your mottos. I hate you." I go, "I can't help it. That's the way I talk." I talk in
Yeah.
mottos. One of my girlfriends, like, "Wendy, I'm tired of you talking in mottos." I go, "I can't help it. It's like ingrained in me. It's who I
It's part
am."
of your fabric. Yeah.
But it's the hardest thing to do to set boundaries with your children.
Yeah,
Say
it is.
no.
It's talk about high stakes. I mean, that is really, really hard. So let me just unpack that for a second. Then, how did that feel inside of you?
Oh, horrible,
Mm-hmm.
horrible,
Mm-hmm.
scary. I didn't know what would happen. Professionals told me this is what
Mm-hmm.
you have to do. And it's even harder when you have your parents who are telling you, no, don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And they had my child live with them.
Yeah. enabled.
against
Yep.
me. What I was trying to do was very frustrating, made me very
Yeah.
angry. And I would go to lots of meetings, talk to a lot of people, and it was very difficult. I would
Yeah.
cry a lot about it. I was very
Yeah.
anxious. I had a team of people to help me. I,
And in the end, do you feel like that act of self-care was rewarded for you?
well, now, how
Yeah.
many years later, I see this
Yeah.
person thriving, doing well.
Right. But the aspect of that setting that boundary so that you could stay out of the madness,
Oh, yes, it was chaotic. Oh,
was that good for you to be able to do that?
yes, it was
Yeah.
empowering, but it was also painful
Painful
at the
for
same
sure.
time. It was very, very difficult, but
Yeah.
it was also, taking care of myself because I couldn't live in that chaos and craziness
That's
anymore.
right.
And I
That's
had
right.
to do that with my first husband as well. I loved him. We're friends today, but I had to get a divorce. He said, "Oh, please, please, can't we try?" No. And it was really hard for me.
Yeah.
It was very
You know
hard.
what's so interesting is that in life, oftentimes like really cool opportunities present themselves. And in order to take that opportunity, we have to not take this road, right? There's a divergence of, okay, I'm going to become this sort of person, or I'm going to go on this kind of trip. Well, if I'm going to go on this trip, I don't have the money to do this other thing. So we're always making choices. But somehow when it comes to something like setting a boundary to protect ourselves, it feels like a loss when in fact it is making that same choice. It is saying, I'm going to go down this road of healthy protection for myself versus staying on this crazy wheel. So I just think we need to kind of shift our perception
Mhm.
to think about it as I'm making a positive choice for myself
Correct.
to no longer live in crazy town.
Right, because it is very, very difficult, especially when you're raised to be a people pleaser and say yes to
Yeah.
everybody and I put myself second, especially with children. And it was
Mm.
a little easier with an adult, for me at least, for my husband, because I was done.
Yeah.
Done. I tried for 7 years. My spouse kept saying, "Okay, you'll try." And then by the 7 year itch, after 7 years of recovery, I'm like, done,
You
going
know,
to graduate school.
every time you and I talk, I'm like, you and I are sisters from another mother, because that's exactly how long my first marriage lasted. And I tried and tried and tried. And finally, I was like, no, this is not getting better. It's getting worse. And I'm going under. So, yeah, so interesting.
It was like 7 years in recovery, though, because was married 22 years.
Oh,
Yeah, because
sister,
yeah. So in that regard, no, it was like 7 years. Once I was sober, I was 35. I got married at 22.
you have a lot of perseverance.
Yeah, I was 22 years, patience and tolerance, and I never thought I had any. But I definitely did. But easier to do with, him than with some
Yeah.
say a child. It was
Yeah.
really, really difficult
Yeah.
to do that because, you love someone and you're told if you love them, no, you don't tell them to leave the house. That's not what you do. That's not
Yeah.
right to do that. But I had to. I had to do
I'm so proud of you, really. And I
that.
do think that it's helpful to the situation to take a stand one way or the other. Yeah. Wendy, I want to shift because another thing you and I share in common is with long term sobriety, we got sober at a time when the stigma was real. Like people judged hard if they heard the word alcoholic. They only had one image in their mind, and if it was somebody who had completely like lost everything. And you and I didn't have that. We both of us were what they now call functional alcoholics. But I mean, really, we hadn't lost all those things. So, what was it like for you back in those days navigating being sober? And did you tell people in your community and your friends and so forth? Or what did you do?
So it's interesting that you say that because every time I hear the word functioning, I think, well, you're functioning to your full potential. No,
Right. No.
functioning, fooling the world. And it's interesting because my closest friends in the neighborhood, we would always hang out with the children, and she never saw me drinking because I didn't during the day or
Hmm.
in the evening. If I'd go out, I'd have like a drink or two and be normal. Like you never knew when I was going to flip. So when she found out, because she sees me on social media, and she found out I was an alcoholic, she goes, "What? You were an alcoholic? Are you kidding me? No way." No, because she has an image. So, like,
Yeah.
certain people I told, certain people I didn't. I stopped going out with certain friends.
Hmm.
And, it was like hush hush. I
Hmm.
didn't like scream from the rooftops like I do now, because right now I am very proud and I want to help people and I want to show
Hmm.
people that yes, it's okay. You can be an alcoholic and you can get help and you can have an amazing life beyond your wildest dreams.
Yeah.
And we're all in this together. It's a community and it's the best club in town. It really is.
It is. It
People
is.
like you, I feel like I know you forever, talking about like being a sister, like my soul sisters. Even if I
Yeah.
don't know you and you tell me you're sober, I love you because we're
Yeah.
all working, on ourselves to be
Yeah.
better. So yes, it was a secret.
Yeah. So, do you remember when you first started being more public about it?
Hmm. Well, I guess when I started working in the field. So when I was 43, I started working in an outpatient agency facilitating intensive outpatient groups. And I would tell my clients because I wanted them to see, like, yeah, I'm an
Hmm.
alcoholic.
So
Really?
that was in a safe environment of people who were in the recovery
Yes.
world. When
Yes.
did you really start talking about it more publicly so that the general public would know?
I think around then as well.
So what
I,
year was that?
let's see. I guess, and I'm so bad with years, so I don't know. What year are we in now? 2025. So let's figure maybe 19, maybe 2000. Let's say in 2000, right?
So
Because right,
at that point, I'm looking, I always kind of look back and I think during those times, I feel like was the beginning of when celebrities were starting to be a little bit more public about their own sober journeys. And especially those who we had seen crash and burn publicly, and then they would get sober and then they would come on to, Ellen's show or Johnny Carson's show and talk about their sobriety and what a great difference it had made in their lives. And I think those people really paved the way for people to be able to talk about it more openly. Um, but I really don't think it started becoming a thing quite like it is today until right after the pandemic, because I think the pandemic really shook a lot of people in both directions. People who were at home and just drank way too much and realized it was out of control, and others who had been sober for a while and were like, this has got to stop.
yes, it's like I'm still thinking, I'm like, okay, so when did I really tell people? Maybe 15, 20 years ago, I think, because I wouldn't be with certain people
Yeah.
if they were drinking too much, and I started moving people from the orchestra to the balcony of my life. And I still do it today.
Yeah.
I do it today because I just don't want to be around certain type of people, and that's okay.
So
That's a
did you get any blowback from those?
sure, sure.
Yeah.
Not very happy with that decision, but that's another thing. Boundaries, like I have to take care of myself. And I
Hmm.
want to feel good. So if I want to feel good, I have to be around people that light me up and lift me up. I
Yeah.
don't want to be around alcoholics. Even if it's a
Yeah.
family member, I will leave.
Yeah.
Oh, I set my boundaries and I'll go. I have 2 hour limit. That's it. I leave.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Wendy, when you first started like shouting it from the rooftops, like you said you do now, was that post pandemic?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yes.
Yeah. And
Yes.
what's that been like? What kind of response have you gotten from that?
Well, it's great. I'm meeting wonderful people. It's
Yeah.
wonderful. And a lot of people like, oh, I'm so proud of you. That's so great. a lot of positive feedback, meeting wonderful people like you, and just a great community. And it's
Mhm.
amazing, like from social media, you meet in the city at Kim Bellis's white party, right? So,
Mhm.
and we meet all these people, and I'm still in touch with them, and I make more and more friends, and it's just wonderful. And then those people that are still drinking say, "Oh, that's great that you don't drink." And
Mhm.
they I think they're a little careful when they're with me and we go out for dinner, what they're drinking or how much. I think they're
Mhm.
more aware of it.
Mhm.
So it's interesting. It's interesting. They're a little not comfortable around me, certain people.
Yeah. So if you were to give advice to somebody who maybe they've been sober for a while, they've been afraid to kind of be more open about it, um, whether it's on social media or even within their community, what advice would you give them today?
If they wanted help, is that the
No, if they wanted to really be more open about it and not sort of like I met a woman who she's in sales, and the expectation of sales is you take people out and you wine and dine them, and everybody's drinking, and so she's afraid to tell even her boss that she's sober because she's afraid of that affecting her job. I mean, things are changing, but they haven't all changed. So, what would you say to somebody who wants to be more open about their sober choices, but might be afraid?
Okay, so it really depends. Like at work, what's the reason that you're saying it? That's what I would have to ask first. What's your motive?
Hmm.
What's the reason you're telling your boss?
Hmm.
Is it that you don't want to go to these dinners, or you don't want people to push drinks on you when you're there, right?
Yeah.
And you don't even have to say that you have a problem with alcohol. You can just say, you know what? I don't drink alcohol. I'm on medication or I'm being healthy, just to let you
Hmm.
know I'm on a health kick. So don't ask me because I, don't want to drink. It makes
Yeah.
me sick, just to tell people, and then maybe they won't push it, but usually people do. Well, you want a drink? And then you could say, yeah, I'll have a drink. I'll have a
Hmm.
cranberry and club soda. And now they
Yeah.
have lots of mocktails. Oh, do you have a mocktail menu? And be proud that you don't drink because it's a lifestyle. It's not healthy. Alcohol is poison. 7
Mhm.
different cancers are from alcohol. Yeah, I want to live. I don't drink. Alcohol is poison, right?
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is. So in that regard, and I hope that answers the question that you
Yeah.
were asking.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything particularly that we haven't covered today that you would like to talk about?
Um, well, really, being sober is just the beginning.
Mm.
And once you stop drinking, it's about you and taking care of yourself and learning who you are. And that's where the self-care comes in,
Mhm.
and learning about yourself, because alcohol just is a numbs you and poisons you. And just to understand that if you have anxiety or depression, it makes it worse. So to reach out, ask for help.
Yeah.
There are many people out there, Marge, myself, you know,
Mhm.
doctors, say, hey, you know what? I want to stop drinking, because it is poison. And
Yeah.
just, it's a gift that you're going to give yourself and your family members by not drinking. And it opens up a whole new world.
Yeah.
And you're not alone. I mean, that's something that's really important. So, just you're worth it and you deserve to be
Mm.
happy. And
Yeah.
alcohol is not your friend. Look, it was my friend until it wasn't. It turns.
Mhm.
It's on you, and it is poison. So please, ask for help. And it's not a stigma. We all have our demons and we all have things,
Yeah.
but please, that's really important to me that you can ask somebody for help and you deserve a better life.
And the
So,
beautiful thing is that, a lot of people really struggle with walking into an AA room. They feel like it's just the last stop on the bus. But people like you who are coaches, today people can work one-on-one in that private setting and have that vulnerability and get to the point where they feel okay with being in a community. And I think you have a community as well of people who work together, and so that you don't feel so frightened and so alone and so different than everybody else. So I love that there are sober coaches out there like you, Wendy. I think that it is really a revolutionary, long overdue thing that we have for people who are afraid or don't want the stigma of going into the classic church basement. Um, Now, you
yes.
and I know that it's a fabulous place to be, but it is a barrier, and you don't have to let that barrier stop you.
No, there's so many, like you said, I actually facilitate a smart recovery group, which is
Yeah.
first Wednesday of every month for women. And
Hmm.
it's on Zoom. Like if you don't want to go to basement, you can go on a Zoom meeting. Don't even show your face. Just listen.
Yep. That's
Just
right.
listen. Because of the pandemic, which was the worst thing, it turns out some really good things like Zoom
Yeah.
meetings. And there are plenty of meetings out there. And it's just a way to live life. That's what the
Yeah.
12 steps are,
Yeah.
designed for living. And
Yeah.
there's ways to get help.
Well,
Mhm.
I just want to thank you, Wendy, really from the bottom of my heart, with that message about sobriety being so much more than removing alcohol. It really is about learning to live fully, with balance and boundaries and self care and all the things we talked about today. It is the best thing that anybody who you talk to who has stopped drinking says that has happened in their life. So, for those of you listening, I'd love you to pause and think, what is one way you can put yourself first this week? Be it emotionally, spiritually, mentally, to strengthen your own sober choices.
I just had one thing I wanted to mention after you're done. I
Yeah.
don't know if you were ending.
Yeah.
You're
Please go
finished.
ahead.
Okay. I wasn't sure. I just wanted to mention, because you mentioned the self-care and what's one thing you can do for yourself today.
Hmm.
And I was thinking, on my website, I have a self-care journal and a wellness log. So that could be their first step
I love
towards
that.
self-discovery. It's a gift. So you can go on to my website, which is wendybehar.com, and just download your gift. It's the self-care journal, a wellness
That's
log to start
beautiful.
with self-care.
Beautiful. Yeah. And we'll have all of those links to all of your things in the show notes so people can find your book and all the things that you do. So I love that. Thank you so much for that. And I love the idea of it being something free just to try.
Yes.
So, if you are ready to take your voice and your journey even further, don't forget to grab your ticket for Amplify Sober Voices. It's our Thought Leader Conference happening January 15th in Orlando. It's where sober speakers, writers, coaches like Wendy, and influencers are going to gather to recharge, to calibrate, and to imagine what's possible. Learn more at amplifysobervoices.com. If this episode inspired you, please subscribe, share, and leave a review. Your voice helps us amplify more sober voices around the world. Wendy, thank you so much for being with me today.
And thank you so much for all the work that you do.
And I love your t shirt.
Me too.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.